Hello lovely people and welcome to the Art Hive, and if you're new to my channel, welcome and I hope you enjoy the video. So today I'm going to be doing a painting using Faber-Castells Albrecht Durer watercolour pencils, and I did a review on these last week and I will put a card up above if you want to go and check that out. But today I was really keen to try and create a painting using them, and the painting I created was this turtle, and I also entered this into a competition which I found pretty last minute on Instagram. But more about the competition later. So I was keen to do a whole painting using just these pencils, and for me something that I was keen to try was to see if I could create a really even flat wash using the pencils as a palette. So that's to say, what I did was I put some of the pencil down on another piece of watercolour paper and then added water to it using my big flat paintbrush here, and then applied that paint to already pre-wetted paper, so I was using it as a kind of a wet on wet technique to create this really smooth even gradient, and it worked really well and I was quite pleased with the result. So the other thing that I was keen to see if the paints before they were completely dry could be lifted off with a damp paintbrush, and as you can see it did work quite well for that as well. Although it didn't completely lift off, it lifted off enough that I was then able to go in with some different colours and put some details on my turtle. So far as lifting was concerned, it was pretty good. The other thing that I was keen to try was to see how these paints layered once they were dry, and as you can see it did work okay. I was quite pleased with the result. So adding on another flat layer on top of the layer I'd already done created another different colour that I hadn't already got, and created some really nice gradients as well. So one thing to say about these pencils is that they are really pigmented, so you get a lot of colour just by laying down quite a small amount. And I was really impressed with how they lifted up and how soluble they are. There wasn't any sort of left trace pencil marks or anything like that, and they do work really well as a watercolour. So a bit about the competition then. I saw this competition on Instagram, and I think it was only 2 days before the deadline for the competition. Being that I wanted to create a picture using these pencils, I thought I might just try and combine the two things and see how we got on. It was a bit of fun and I thought, why not? I've got nothing to lose. So the competition stated that they wanted to have people design or create a design for their watercolour cup for their fan edition of the 64 pack of Albrecht Durer pencils. And the theme for the competition was underwater, so the possibilities were vast. It could have been anything from animals to fantasy to swimming pools, lakes, plants, anything. So it was a big topic, and I came up with a few ideas before I settled on the turtle. And originally I wanted to do a mermaid, and then I sort of thought it was a bit ambitious possibly with the time I'd got, and also I was a bit limited by the size of the template you can see here. And what they had suggested was that we download the template and put it onto watercolour paper, which is what I did. The paper I used was a hot press watercolour paper, and I'll put details in the description box below if you're interested to know exactly which one. But yes, so we downloaded the template onto the watercolour paper and then created our design before uploading it back to Faber-Castell and submitting it by I think it was by the 18th of December. So I didn't have long to create my design, and I came up with this turtle because one of the other criteria that they wanted us to think about, or that was important, was to display the pencils as well as we could. So I thought one of the most important things about these pencils are obviously to show how soluble they are with water and how vibrant they are as well, because that's one of the things that really struck me when I was doing the review, was the pigmentation of the pencils and the vibrancy of the colours that you can get when you added water. So these pencils are really flexible, and once I'd kind of got my design, I thought that I would show the vibrancy of the colours by doing this coral area on the side, and being that this design was going to end up as a 3D, or the design was to go round a cup shape, I thought it would be quite nice to have the turtle that I designed kind of wrapping round the cup. So that's why you can see on this page on the right hand side there is part of the turtle's flipper. So I thought that once it was put into a cup shape that it would kind of go not just a different picture on each side of the cup, but to kind of have that wraparound technique and effect. And I thought the coral would be really bright as well. So hopefully the aim was to display all the benefits and the flexibility and the good things about these pencils using this design. So I kind of kept flipping from one to the other and trying to make this sort of fairly continuous, because as I say, it was going to be a design that went all around the cup, and I was quite pleased with how the turtle turned out. But the coral I struggled with a bit, because I think, again, limited not by the pencils themselves but possibly by the size of the template, I felt like it was a bit small to give as much detail as I wanted to. Although, having said that, I mean, the pencils are very flexible. You can add them sort of from the pencil tip onto wet paper, or you can use them wet onto dry paper, and they are quite flexible in that way. Although using them like that does use up quite a lot of the pencils, so it's probably not the most economical use of them if you're trying to prolong the life of your pencil. But nonetheless, it's quite a good medium to use if you want that flexibility. And going back to the turtle now, I really like the way that obviously you can do the watercolour in the background and then add details with the pencil like I'm doing here, just dry onto the dry paper. And then once you've got your base colours down, you can go and add the water as well to kind of blend those in, and then go down again with another layer on top of that, so you can really build up a really deep rich colour. And that's one of the advantages, I think, of these pencils, is that you can just keep adding layers, and it didn't seem to damage the tooth of the paper at all or anything like that, as long as you don't press down too hard and don't add too much water. So the other thing that is a good thing about these pencils is that despite only having the 24 set here, you can actually mix them off the paper as well, so you can create lots of different colours using combinations that you can make up yourself to come up with the different colours that you need. So I was quite impressed with the flexibility of that, and being able to basically use them like a watercolour pan in that way, just creating your own colours and blends. And that was really nice. I managed to get quite a nice pinky colour for the underside of the turtle, and that was sort of using a couple of colours together. And again, as you can see here, just going in with a bit of detail on the face, it was really nice to be able to go in with a sharp pencil and add some really fine details. You can also go in with a really fine paintbrush, as I said, and just fill those details in that way if you want. So it's very flexible and you can work with them whichever way suits you best. So if anything, one of the downsides of this pencil is that it might just be more to do with the competition actually rather than the pencil themselves, but that you couldn't actually see the white pencil so well when you applied that, and you'll see that in a bit when I go back onto the coral. So although I was pleased with the turtle, I wasn't too pleased with how the coral turned out, and as I said, it might have been a limitation more of the template, the size of the template, or the competition itself, because you were only meant to be using the watercolour pencils to create your design, obviously to showcase the pencils and not other things that you can use with them. So as much as you can use mixed media on top of them, as discussed in the review last week, it wasn't something that I could do with this particular painting. So with the coral, as I said, I would possibly have added some white gel pen or white gouache to kind of bring out some highlights on the coral itself, and probably also with the bubbles to the right side of the turtle. But that wasn't an option for the competition piece, although you could actually physically do this if you weren't worried about mixing media, because mixing media with it is something that improves the flexibility of the pencils and gives you another dimension should you want to. So in conclusion then, I would say yes, I really do like these pencils. They are super flexible and can be used many different ways. So they can mix colours on your palette or your paper to create new colours. You can layer them, you can lift them, and you can create even washes, which was something that I was keen to try out. They are also super vibrant, as I said, and really do dissolve really well, so they're really water soluble. And that's something that I haven't seen with any other watercolour pencils that I've used, although my experience with these is limited. So I think this is only the first painting that I created with these pencils, so I can probably do with a bit more practice myself, and through a little bit more trial and error and experience, I could probably get even better results from them. So I'd love to know if you've tried these pencils before as well, and how you've got on with them, and if you've got any hints and tips on how you think I could improve with them. And I also wanted to just say that, in case you're interested, I didn't actually get into the final of the competition, but I had good fun trying, and that is the main thing. So it was a bit of a last minute decision anyway, but I was really pleased that I got to enter, and I'm really looking forward to seeing who does win the competition. So a little bit just talking about what I'm hoping for this channel next year, and I hope to be exploring a lot of different mediums as well. So things like pastels, I'm looking forward to showing you how I do my pastel drawings, because that's something I've got a little bit more experience with, and so possibly doing some real-time videos and tutorials. And if there's anything else that you would like to see me do as well, I'm all ears, so just drop me a comment in the box below if there's something you would like to see me do. So I'm just finishing off doing a little bit more detail to the coral here. As I said, this wasn't my favourite bit, and I think possibly with a little bit more time as well, I could have probably fine-tuned my design in the first place and done maybe larger areas of coral in more detail. But I mean, it was good to have a go, and I enjoyed the whole process. The same goes with the fish really, because they were really small, and possibly when enlarged to the final size of the competition cup, they wouldn't show as much detail as was needed. But I was pleased with how the turtle came out, and I did quite like the effect of the surface of the water that I'd done as well, which when wrapped around the cup might have looked really cool. And last of all, I did add some turquoise colour underneath the waterline there, just to add some more effect to the surface of the water itself. And once I'd done that, the picture was done. So I hope you enjoyed watching the process, and I hope you enjoyed listening to me rant on about a competition, as well as what my plans are for next year, what I liked about these pencils, and hopefully you enjoyed the video enough to give it a thumbs up, comment and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you all next week. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.